Hello, winos! Firstly, welcome to my new house. I recently moved from San Diego to San Francisco to help manage a champagne bar, and I'm super excited about it. So if you're ever in the Bay Area and want to grab a glass, let me know. Now today's video is really important. Choosing a wine in a store is something that intimidates a lot of people, but I really want to show you how easy it can be. Let's get started. Even if you don't personally use a dating app, I'm willing to bet you still know how they work. You see a picture of someone, their age and their location, and a little blurb where they try to grab your attention with something interesting. Then you spend about 30 seconds deciding if you like them or not. You're confidently saying that you can pick a person based on this small amount of information. And you're so sure that you're right that you're willing to bet the cost of a drink or a dinner and probably an hour of your life on it. So then why does picking a wine intimidate you so much? A lot of people will ask me, okay, well, how am I supposed to know what it tastes like if I can't try it? It's a very good question, but here's my counterpoint. This is a red soda. If you saw it in the store and I asked you what it tasted like, you can make a pretty educated guess. It's probably cherry or strawberry, right? There's no way that it's lemon lime or cola because this soda doesn't match the characteristics that you associate with those flavors. So you can pretty accurately guess what this will taste like without trying it just based on your prior experiences. Wine doesn't have to be any different. Sure, unless you had really cool parents growing up, you probably had more soda than wine at birthday parties. But that just means you have a little catching up to do. If you drink a few bottles of wine a month, you should be able to build up a mental catalog so you can keep track of what you like and then apply that to future purchases. So that is tip number 1 and by far the most important. Remember what you drink and what you thought about it. Apps like Vivino are great for this because you can actually take a picture of the label and then rate it so you can keep track of what you like and you'll get to know your taste profile over time. Use that to primarily guide your purchases as well as these next tips. Tip number 2 may be more or less important depending on the occasion. It's price. Most liquor and wine stores will have some sort of organization where it's like a top shelf to bottom shelf type thing, and you can use that to narrow down to your price bracket. There's no point in picking out a wine and then realizing it's out of your budget and having to put it back and start all over again. But if you're prepared to treat yourself, then the world is your wine glass. For more on these next tips, I strongly urge you to check out my video on terroir, because it gives a more in-depth look about how different varietals taste in different regions and why. But I'll touch on the basics here now. That brings me to tip number 3, which is look at the region the wine is from. If you have a basic knowledge of geography, you should be able to know approximately which regions are hot and which regions are cold. If you don't, just pull out your phone and Google average temperature world map and go from there. Grapes in warmer climates get riper, so the flavors will get riper as well. If you like big, bold, juicy reds with flavors of blackberry jam and cherry pie, or you like whites with more tropical flavors like mango and pineapple, head to warmer regions. If you prefer more restrained reds with earthy characteristics and black currant, or you like crisp whites that will cleanse your palate and have flavors of wet stones and citrus, err on the side of cooler climates. Grapes in cooler climates ripen slower, so they'll retain their acidity and the flavors won't smack you in the face quite as much. Note that most places in the Old World, aka Europe, produce wines that are more of that restrained style, whereas places in the New World, aka everywhere else, produce more big and bold styles. Tip number 4 is to look at the varietal. I really do recommend you look at the region and then the varietal. The region is going to help you narrow down the style of wine you want, and then the varietal is going to help you narrow down the flavors and characteristics. Again, I do have a video where I go more in depth about different varietal characteristics, but I'll touch on some rules of thumb now. For whites, know your aromatics from your non-aromatics. The aromatic white varietals are Albarino, Riesling, Gewürztraminer, Moscato or Muscat Blanc, Viognier, and sometimes Sauvignon Blanc. These varietals are for people that love to go to botanical gardens and smell everything they can. They are made both dry and sweet, but a lot of people interpret them to be more sweet because of their fruity and sometimes even honeyed flavors. You should try these wines to know if you like them or not. If you do, awesome. If not, that's fine. Just stick to less aromatic varietals like Chardonnay, Chenin Blanc, Pinot Gris or Grigio, and Sauvignon Blanc from cooler climates. For reds, a good dividing line is tannin. If you prefer lighter and less tannic reds, look for varietals like Pinot Noir, Gamay, aka Beaujolais, Grenache, Sangiovese, aka Chianti, and Tempranillo, aka Rioja. If you like more big and powerful reds, look for Cabernet Sauvignon and Syrah, and blends from Bordeaux and the Rhone Valley. Italian reds like Barolo and Barbaresco, made from the Nebbiolo grape, are also known for packing a punch, especially when they're younger. Tip number 5 seems obvious, but it deserves saying. Read the whole label. Most New World and even some Old World labels will give you hints about the wine. Some things are BS, but some of it is helpful. For example, if you see a US wine that says reserve or selection or old vine, it doesn't actually mean anything. Those terms aren't regulated here, so they basically mean whatever the winemaker wants them to mean. In the old world, there are more regulations on this, which makes the labels a little more complicated, so I'll go into that another time. Next, check if there are flavor notes on the back. The flavors are usually accurate, and you can look for buzzwords that will give you even more information. If you see the words cedar, smoke, baking spices, vanilla, or dill, or coconut, or just straight up oak, it means the wine spent time in contact with oak. Time in oak makes wines less tart and upfront, and a little more mellow with a rounder mouthfeel. Oak aging can kind of tone down the tannins in bigger wines, and then give more body to lighter wines. If you see words like cream or butter or anything else in the dairy aisle, it means that the wine went through malolactic fermentation. MLF is a process that converts tart malic acids like green apple into softer lactic acids like milk. Chardonnay often goes through this, so that rather than tasting like apples and honeydew, it'll taste more like cream and buttered popcorn. Let's do an example. As you can see, it's a California Cabernet Sauvignon, and I've had those before, so I know I generally like them. It's from Alexander Valley in Sonoma County, which is north of the Bay Area to the west of Napa. This particular area of Sonoma County is actually the hottest, so I know it's gonna get big, ripe, bold flavors. Cabernet Sauvignon as a varietal tends to have a lot of black fruit characteristics and a little bit of red fruit. I'm picturing blackberries and black currants and a little bit of black cherry. And because I know that this is a hot region, I'm kind of dialing those flavors into a more jammy and rich style rather than like a cooler tart style. It also tends to be tannic. The back of the label confirms this. It says balanced flavors of red and black fruits, smooth tannins, and soft spice give way to a velvety finish. Now that word spice is a buzzword for me. It tells me that this wine spent some time in contact with oak. Oak is going to add those spicy, smoky, vanilla characteristics to the wine, as well as mellow out the tannins, which is probably why they call them velvety. These guys were pretty low-key about their oak usage, but some people get a little carried away. For example, here's a bottle I had opened the other day. They claim that the wine spent 3 months in used bourbon whiskey barrels. Sounds great, right? It'll have flavors like bourbon where it's oaky and woody and sugary. Kinda. Oak is porous, so it absorbs and spits out the liquid like a sponge. So if the wood has already absorbed some whiskey, it can't absorb as much wine as fast, especially not over 3 months. For comparison, the average Cabernet blend in Bordeaux spends about 12 months in oak, and only 50% of that is used. 50% is brand new. That was just a little comparison to show you that while labels can be helpful, they're still a marketing tool, so just be careful. Now, with all of those assumptions out of the way, I was willing to bet about $15 that I would like this wine. Let's see if I'm right. I'm definitely getting the black fruit characteristics. There's a lot of ripe blackberry and a little bit of plum, even verging on prune. I'm also getting some spice like tobacco and pepper, as well as just a hint of some really ripe raspberries. On the palate, the first thing I noticed are the tannins we expected. They're drying out my tongue just like I would want if I was having a big juicy steak. I'm also getting more of the oaky, woody characteristics on the palate than I did on the nose. Overall, this is about what I expected and I like it. It's the Cabernet Sauvignon that I wanted it to be, and I'm gonna enjoy the rest of the bottle. Now, of course, the next step is for you to try this on your own. Head to a wine store this week and see if there's anything that you're willing to swipe right on. Or should I say, swirl right. Happy hunting and cheers, winos.